Good evening, everyone. This is the Diana Wright Show live online, and we welcome you from around the world and in the United States to the program. We have a special guest coming up with us tonight, Dr. Melanie Simpson, and we will be talking about lots of health issues, including Governor Christie and his weight, and how so many people are getting into the game talking about Governor Christie's weight, worrying about his weight. I don't know why, but anyway, they are. So we thank you so much for joining us, and we ask that you go through the hour with us, or just maybe some more, a longer time, and we're going to try to give you as much information as we can and enlighten you and try to get you out of the blue zone that you might be in. Any depressed state that you're in, just know that God is there with you, and he will pull you out of whatever it is that is depressing you and take you into the color of green, which is go do the right thing and take care of yourself. The I Love Me Crusade is our motto here on this program. And of course, we encourage you to love yourself and to teach your children to love themselves. And of course, if you give love, you will definitely receive love. My saying for tonight is, in the absence of self-love, you attempt to fill your emptiness with what's called imagined love, which is infatuation, lust, and simply using in and living in denial. So that's the thought for this evening, as you keep it in mind and you try to love yourself. Believe me, if it takes 50 times to repeat it to yourself, 100 times, 1,000 times, as long as you get it, that's the most important thing, to love yourselves. All right? Moving right along with our lead in this evening, did you know that Caribbean citizenships are for sale? Well, indeed they are. And we start with the citizenship that you can buy if you would like to become a Dominican citizen. There's a gentleman in Palestine. His name is Mizawi. He made a contribution of $100,000, and in the mail, he received his citizenship and a passport, becoming Dominican. In St. Kitts, if you purchase property worth over $400,000 or buy 50 condominium units, you become a citizen of St. Kitts Nevis. Interesting to note. In the United States, it's referred to as investor visa, as it's called here. You need $1 million investment in the U.S. in a United States business, and that business has to be employing at least 10 people. Or $500,000 is the deposit you need if there's you're investing in a community that's designated economically depressed. Wow, who knew? So also in Dominica, another option, $250,000 donation to a fund for retired sugar workers, or a maximum real estate investment of $400,000. So, if you purchase a Dominican citizenship and receive your passport, you can travel without a visa to more than 50 countries. And if you purchase a passport/citizenship from St. Kitts, it provides you visa-free travel to 139 countries. Antigua and Barbuda is now launching its own citizenship passport program to raise money for their country. Also, Grenada is trying to get in on the action. So, well, if you'd like to be a Grenadian citizen, or a Dominican citizen, or a St. Kitts citizen, or a U.S. citizen. You can buy your way to it. You just gotta have some cash. Interesting thoughts to note on this day. And we will continue in the vein of business. Some people are asking these days, why do I really need a bank account? Because you're getting no interest on the bank account. The banks are not being run properly in the minds of some. And you risk losing the money. But no, hold up. There are reasons why you do need a bank account. Some of us feel safer putting it somewhere hidden where we can get our hands on it. But no, they say you do need a bank account for a couple of reasons, and I'll tell you why. If you're getting a mortgage, a lender, or if you're getting a credit card, a creditor would actually need to know that you have a bank account. If you are cashing your paycheck or a personal check paid to you by someone else, you actually need a bank account for that, because you do know that most banks will not cash your check for you unless you have an account with them, or someone else who has an account takes you into the bank to get that check cashed. Yeah. If you're paying your bills, there's some bills you still cannot pay online. So you need a check to write and a stamp to mail it. And an envelope, of course. Bill pay online does not solve all the problems of bill pay. I do know that most utility companies, or some of them anyway, you still have to write that check and put it in the mail. Lack of protection. A lot of us worry about that, putting our money in the bank and it's not protected. Remember, there's a little thing called FDIC, which insures your money. It's an insurance guarantee. And of course, you just check with your bank to see what the limit is. Is it $250,000? Is it whatever it is? They will let you know. But if you have that money on you, hidden somewhere in your house, and you get robbed, well, it's all gone and there's no insurance. So, indeed, we do need a bank account, because some of us do get mad with our banks sometimes and wonder if we should just stash our stashings under the mattress or stash our stashings in the freezer, like some people have done, stash their credit cards and their cash in their freezers. But the thieves got smart and now are checking the freezers. And they're also advising you don't keep your cash in your closet or in your panty drawers, or your, anywhere in your bathroom, because they know the secret. That secret is out. So find another stash place in your house if you decide that you don't need a bank account. But there are many things that you do need a bank account for. So we encourage you to get a bank account. All right? And don't worry about it not being insured, because it is insured with FDIC insurance guarantee. So, just a little thing I thought you should know. And also, sometimes we don't have a bank account and we spend our cash, but we don't know where that cash is going. And then we wonder, what did I do with all that money that I had? But if you put it in the bank, they will send you a statement either online or by mail. So you will know what exactly you're doing and what exactly you're charging, because it will show up on your bank statement. How about that? So, good news for those of us who think we do need a bank account. And for those of you who still believe you don't need a bank account, just be careful with your cash and do not be stashing it in the freezer, because the thieves are on that game. And no closet, no panty drawers. Okay? They are on that game. So please don't do that. All right. There's some information about the Pope. Lots of things coming out. I told you, the sudden resignation, there will be a scandal in the background. Everyone is coming out with their little theories of scandal. Brian Ross said he was slapped by the Pope before he became Pope, when he was just a cardinal. When he questioned him about the abuse in the Catholic Church, he was literally slapped on his hands by Pope Benedict. Yes, he was trying to investigate the sex scandal in the Catholic Church, and he was actually slapped. And also, he was left with the burden of investigating all the sex scandals in the church. But I gather, he said, the buck stops at his desk. So he held the responsibility. So now that the HBO documentary is hitting the airways, yeah, the airwaves are being hit by this HBO documentary that just talks about the silence in the church. And they believe that is one of the main reasons that the Pope actually resigned so suddenly. So, sudden resignations, there's a scandal hiding in the closet somewhere. So we will find out more, because you know they're going to dig deeper, and we will get the scoop, and we will bring it to you as we get it. Also, just to let you know that the new Pope will be selected by what's called the College of Cardinals, a body of about 120 men. Notice I said men. No women invited. No women need apply. You're not included. They will vote at a special meeting called a papal conclave. And those under the age of 80, if you're under the age of 80, can you imagine? You will be able to vote in a ballot at the Sistine Chapel. All right. The vote is secret, of course, and conducted amid tight security that you and I can never bust into. The Pope, it was discovered today that the Pope also has a pacemaker, because the batteries had to be changed, and the secret is out. He has a pacemaker. So for you, those of you who are wondering, he's actually telling the truth about his, not being so strong and healthy to continue as Pope. So let's give him some slack. Okay. Campaigning is not allowed, but a subtle form of what they're calling electioneering still goes on if you want to make your choice as to who becomes the next Pope. They're divided in groups for their discussions, of course, about choosing the Pope, and they're divided by the language they speak. So all the Germans to one side, the Latin Americans to one side, and so on and so on and so forth. Cardinals are pretty shrewd, they say. They keep their cards close to their chest. And please, cardinals will make up their own minds. Don't try to coerce them to making up their minds. They're quite independent guys. And just a reminder that the College of Cardinals is filled with European, elderly, conservative men. So as we ponder about who will be the next Pope, please keep in mind that it's top secret, top security. You can't get in, but I'm positive the American press will find a way to get a leak. So we'll find out. They say the person should be chosen by Easter. Now tomorrow is Wednesday, and of course it's Ash Wednesday. That's the beginning of Lent. So Easter comes shortly after that. Of course, Lent is a time and Easter is a time when most Catholics do their fasting. Okay? So they observe the fasting and they do their fasting, and all the unleavened bread has to come out of the house for some people. And, there are lots of different things that happens during Easter. All right? But for the Catholic Church, it's their time of fasting. So we will keep you posted as to what goes on, and as soon as we find out, we will let you know. Okay. Love that news. There's something called, I'm sure you didn't know, or I hope you knew, that there's something called zombie foreclosures. Now, you see, a lot of consultants got about $630 per hour, adding up to about $1 billion to do this zombie foreclosure thing. But guess what? A lot of the banks changed their minds on foreclosing on some people's houses. So when that happened, these people are still getting paid to do nothing, basically. But you, the consumer, the homeowner, who already got scared and left your house because you got that foreclosure notice, which you should not have left your house. Guess what? Even though the bank decided they're not going to foreclose anymore because that house is not worth anything to them, you, my friends, are still responsible for the taxes and all the expenses that go with that, whether it's homeowners association or whatever. Some say people can sue the banks for the, insurance money and taxes and all that. But I don't know how successful you might be with that particular project. So if you're in your home, in your house, and you get that foreclosure notice, don't be too anxious to run through the door because you are in fear. Remember, there is some mighty power called God and Jesus. So see, the banks are giving up on some of the foreclosures. But my goodness, you're out the house, you don't know what's going on with the house. Your house has become a place where people squat. Squatters are there. But indeed, you need to check with your tax offices, call your bank, and find out if you're one of those homeowners, because you are indeed responsible for the taxes and insurance and everything that goes with that property. Isn't that crazy, actually? That you are responsible for that? Shouldn't the bank be responsible for that? Since they served you foreclosure papers and you left? Because obviously you were in fear. And that's understandable because people get frightened for things. So, I have unfortunate news that you need to go do some research despite all the other problems that you might have right now. So, hope we have helped someone there and hope you pass the message on to your friends and family members. They need to know. They need to know about that. Zombie foreclosures is what it's being called. Okay, I thought I was doing, something just nice and easy today when I was looking at the best hotels for 2013 in the United States and the best hotels in the Caribbean for 2013, because I just wanted to share with you just in case you're planning your vacation, because you do know if you're planning your vacation for the summer, you have to start real early from now, okay? Because the difference between the cost of a ticket now and when you're going could be $1,000. You never know, depending on where you're going, especially if you're going to Europe. So, but investigating this, I did not know when people are asked to make their comments about these things, people would get so angry. I was looking at the best hotels in the United States, and there's a lady that calls herself Meg8681. She just unleashed her anger on all those little people who she thought were poor, and she also called them, I bet they're Democrats looking for a handout. My goodness. She said most people were victims, mentally or poor, and she's just wondering why they're calling themselves menial workers and they can't afford it. And if you can't afford it, stop whining. And she just went on, and she said, I bet you're all Democrats having the entitlement mentality that makes me sick, she said. She said, be thankful for what you have and go about making change in your life and stop complaining. And I thought to myself, wow, is this the level of anger just about people just commenting about the fact that they can't afford to stay in these fancy hotels, and, they stay at the Best Western, or they name other hotels. And this young lady, whoever she is, she just got so mad. She just told everybody off. Okay? So I'm just wondering, I did not know that there was so much hate and combustive behavior on the internet, with just people asking you for your comments. Anyway, I'm still going to tell you about the hotels. I was just shocked about what I was seeing and imagining in my little mind. All right. Reminding you, you're tuned and we are live on the Diana Wright Show online, and we're going to change your graphic here as we go along, and maybe we'll put nothing up for a while. Yes? Anger. People are just angry. And why is it that everybody believes that everybody needs to be wealthy, and if you can't go to those fancy hotels, you're being jealous or something? Or you must be a Democrat, she said. Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's tell you about some of the hotels. Amanji, and that's a hotel at Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I always wondered why people like Dick Cheney and some other politicians always are going to Jackson Hole. And, they also have meetings there of the Fed sometimes and stuff like that. I always wondered about this Jackson Hole place until I saw Amanji. Whoa, beautiful hotel. They showed you the pictures online. Fantastic. Would love to stay there. Okay, Miss Thing, don't get annoyed now. The Four Seasons Resort in Lanai in Hawaii. Beautiful, beautiful hotel. That's number 2. Number 3, the Inn at Palmetto Bluff in Bluffton, South Carolina. And this, I am told, is an Auberg resort. We have, I think, 2 of those on the list. That's number 3. Number 4 is the Satai Fifth Avenue. That's in New York City. Beautiful. Number 5, what's this? Calls Toga. That's a Calls Toga Ranch, and that is in Napa Valley. The place that I really want to visit is Napa Valley. And that's another Auberg resort. Okay. The Four Seasons made it again in Seattle. That's number 6. Number 7, the Four Seasons Resort in Big Island, and that's in the Big Island of Hawaii. Number 8, the Inn of the Five Graces in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Waldorf Astoria, that's in Chicago. You notice they didn't say the one in New York. They said the one in Chicago. And number 10 is Triple Creek Ranch, and that's in Darby, Montana. Big country, Montana. I just could not believe the anger that was spewing in the writings of these people online. Okay, so now we look at the Caribbean, the hotels that are best in some Caribbean islands. Yes. Number 1 is Tortuga Bay, and that's in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. Imagine that. Number 2, Hotel St. Barth, Isles de France. That's in St. Bart's, obviously. Number 3 is Eden Rock. That's also in St. Bart's. Number 4, Jamaica Inn in Ocho Rios, Jamaica actually made the list. No all-inclusives did. Four Seasons Resort in Nevis, St. Kitts. That made the cut. Number 6, Nisbeth. And that's Nisbet Plantation Beach Club. And that's also in St. Kitts, Nevis. Wow. I've been there actually to do the Diana Wright Show. I didn't realize there were so many fabulous resorts in St. Kitts, Nevis. But there are. Number 7 is Jade Mountain. That's in St. Lucia. And number 8 is Jumbe Bay. I'm sure a lot of you probably heard of that. Jumbe or Jumbe Bay. And that's a Rosewood resort in Antigua. Number 9 is Amanyaka. That's in Turks and Caicos. And number 10, Seven Stars Resort, and that's also in Turks and Caicos. So beautiful places to stay in the Caribbean islands. If you want to go, you heard from St. Lucia, Jamaica, what was it? St. Kitts Nevis, St. Bart's. Well, lots of rich folks and those celebrities, they seem to love St. Bart's. I think you have to get on a boat to actually get there. Yeah. So the best hotels for 2013 in the United States and in the Caribbean. Now also, as we hope and wait for Dr. Melanie Simpson to give us a call so we can find out about some health issues that we want to feature tonight, I want to just take a look at the Celebrity Focus. If you name, or if indeed you name your child Vivian Pitt, that is a daughter of Brad and Angelina Jolie. She just made an appearance in her mother's movie, and she was actually paid $3,000 a week. Now imagine this kid, 4 years old, $3,000 a week to be in your mom's movie. Oh, how we would love to see some of those people working so hard, getting $10 an hour, and can't even pay their bills and buy food and pay their rent. How nice would it be for them to get a chance to $3,000 a week? Wow. That's a wow moment for me. So, I must raise this question. Are we going to raise the minimum wage in this country? I would love to see that happen. So some of our struggling mothers and fathers and students out there who are really beating that pavement, so their income can go up. And they could possibly dream of $3,000 a month that a 4-year-old gets because her name is Vivian Pitt. Wow. Imagine that. When we talk about imbalance in our society, and when we talk about people not getting a fair shot, this is what we talk about. These are the things that we question and we talk about. Okay, these are the things. The unfairness of our country. $3,000 a week for a 4-year-old, and we don't want to raise the minimum wage for a hard-working mother, single parent, father, student. How mean is that? How unfair is that for society? I think we need to change that. How about that? We absolutely need to change something like that and make it just a little more fair, just a little more balanced, just a little more chance for that single parent. We're not endorsing that she should be a single parent, but we would like for her to be able to eat and have a roof over her head. So, $3,000 a week for a 4-year-old because your name is Vivian Pitt. How can we arrange to get you to start calling your congressmen, your senators, and the White House to say the minimum wage must be raised so people can survive? Because it's just about survival at that rate. If you're making $10 an hour, you're simply surviving. And we do empathize with you. So, we are asking you to do something about it. Don't just sit and wait for the politicians to act. You must act also. You must put pressure on Washington to change that. And by the way, they need to enforce the law of men and women getting the same wages for the same work. Too much inequality. Too much unfairness. Okay. Well, for Valentine's coming up on Thursday, there's some good news coming out of Florida. Imagine that. Good news out of Florida. There's a couple, and I really think that this is a wonderful, wonderful story. And this young lady, Melissa DeJeso Jones, we'll just call her Melissa Jones so we don't massacre her name. She decided that she will donate her kidney, one of her kidneys, to her husband, James Jones. And she said this, quote, "I'm giving as much love as I have. It's completely from my heart." What a great thing to say, because remember, I keep reminding each and every one of you that you should live from the inside out. What are the good things and the good promises in your heart? Live from there out, and the world will be a much, much better place. So they're from Lake Mary, Florida. Never heard of that. And the surgery was done at Florida Hospital in Orlando. The couple met, listen to this, very interesting now. The couple met, I need to repeat this on Valentine's Day. I'm positive I need to. The couple met 2 years ago on Valentine's Day. Melissa, in my opinion, is simply a phenomenal human being. She said, this is what she actually said. She said she never thought that her kidney, when they did the testing, would not be a match. So hence, again, we go back to positive thinking, no negative thought. She said it never crossed her mind that her kidney, once, because you have to go through a long process of testing and whatever, she never gave it a thought that she could not be a match for her husband to save his life. And when her husband was wondering, oh, you sure you want to make this sacrifice? She said, yes, because the sacrifice is for us. What a beautiful story coming out of Lake Mary, Florida, on this preview before Valentine's Day on Thursday. Congratulations to you, Melissa, for having such a clean heart and living inside out. And it's obvious that you love yourself and you love your husband. So we congratulate you for that. And we hope that his body will accept that kidney, and he will be doing very, very well come Valentine's Day now, and of course, much better next Valentine's Day, 2014. What a wonderful story. So I'm assuming that this is my next guest, which is Dr. Melanie Simpson. Is this Dr. Melanie?
Yes, how are you? Good night to you, Miss Wright.
Oh, good evening to you, Dr. Melanie, and how are you? Well, she's Dr. Melanie Simpson, but she is affectionately called Dr. Melanie. All right, so we'll just call her Dr. Melanie. Are we? Okay, Dr. Melanie, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good. I'm doing well, and I'm so grateful and so thankful for you to join us this evening on the program.
I'm excited.
Okay, you're excited. Well, I'm glad you're excited because I have some good questions for you. All right, welcome to the program. And before I even start asking you all my crazy questions, I would like for you to tell me a little bit about Dr. Melanie and what's your specialty and how you decided to become a doctor.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
so officially, as you previously stated, I'm Dr. Melanie Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
Originally from Jamaica.
Uh-huh.
So I'm also a fellow Jamaican. I decided probably around age 9 years old, I pretty much knew
Wow.
I wanted to go into medicine. I was pretty convinced. I had an aunt who died. She was actually my favorite aunt.
Mm-hmm.
Who died suddenly because of pneumonia and complications.
Right.
And pretty much ever since that day, I knew for sure that that's what I wanted to do.
My goodness. So you decided from you were 9 years old.
9 years old.
Wow.
And I actually wrote it down on a piece of paper, which I still have to this day.
Wonderful.
That's what I wanted to do.
Okay. I like that. That's very nice.
Yes. So attention to all you listeners. I would highly advise you, like the Bible says, write the vision and make it plain. It really does come to pass when you have it in front of you on a daily basis, on a consistent basis.
Okay.
As far as my schooling goes, I actually did most of my early education in Jamaica, and then I migrated to the United States at age 9.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up moving back to Jamaica and attending Beer Technical High School.
Really?
And yes, I did.
Wow. So that's a kind of a reversal, going back after you came.
Yes. Yes. And while I was at Beer Technical, I think I was pretty much seasoned and convinced at that point that medicine was definitely what I wanted to do. I became involved with the Jamaica Red Cross Society
Mm-hmm.
as an active member until I graduated high school. And then I actually got a scholarship
Wow.
to go to University of the West Indies, and I turned it down to come to the United States to study.
Okay.
And
All right. So tell us a little bit about what your specialty is.
so my specialty is family medicine, which most people call a general practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
So I take care of people from newborns all the way until elderly,
Okay.
all the way across the board.
And you know that you're a rare and dying breed, right?
Yes.
Yes, because everybody now is a specialist. There's no one you can go to and they can tell you everything. You have to go to this doctor and that doctor over here, and then they're going to send you to that specialist, and your insurance doesn't pay for that, and it's just such a confusing little thing going on.
Right. Right. The only time that we as family medicine physicians, because there's a huge shortage of primary care physicians, but as far as primary care physicians are concerned, I will say that we will take care of you to the very best of our ability.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's outside our jurisdiction, that's when you get sent to a specialist. But
Okay.
anything we can handle, we do take care of.
Okay, so are you telling me then you also play the part of a gynecologist or stuff like that?
We do,
Or you don't?
We actually do gynecological exams in our office, yes.
Wow. Oh my
And we
goodness.
also do minor surgeries in our office. So if you had, for example, a cyst that needed to be removed, or an abscess that developed and you needed it lanced,
Mm-hmm.
an antibiotic treatment, etc., we do that as well.
Okay. Alrighty. All right. Well, let me do my grilling now.
Sure.
I am serious about the flu season. No, this is the worst flu season I've ever experienced since I've been in this country. I've had the flu twice. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And I spoke to my friend John T from WABS yesterday, and he had it twice also. So I thought, okay, I don't feel so bad anymore because I was wondering if something was wrong with me. But then again, why is this flu season just seem to be so wicked?
Well, one of the big problems is, as you know, I guess general knowledge, when it comes to the flu, the flu actually changes strains every year.
Oh,
So that's the reason why you have to get a flu shot every year.
okay,
Well,
Dr. Melanie,
well-
you're telling us to get a flu shot?
So here's the flip side to it. If you have an allergy,
Right.
then it's not recommended that you get the flu vaccine.
Okay, all right.
Because you can get a pretty severe reaction if that's the case.
Okay.
As far as the flu shot is concerned, if you're someone that's in healthcare, so for example, you work in a nursing home, whatever capacity, or you work in a crowded area, or you work in a hospital, or in my case, you're in a doctor's office,
Right.
then getting the flu vaccine is highly recommended. Why? Because, for example, babies and elderly are the two extensive sets of the population that can be severely affected by the flu. One, babies, their immune systems are not fully developed yet. And then on the elderly side, their immune systems are pretty much going downhill for the
Okay.
most part in many cases. So those are the two extreme populations that it's highly recommended that that you do give the flu vaccine to elderly patients or someone who's going to have exposure to people that could be severely at risk if they get sick.
Okay. All right. Our special guest inside of the Diana Wright Show live online tonight, Dr. Melanie Simpson, and she is actually something that's rare. She's a family doctor. You can actually go to her for everything. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Something about the flu that a lot of people, I think, don't understand. A lot of people, they get the flu and they run for the doctor for some antibiotic. Is that something that you would advise people not to do?
Well, here's the problem. You may have symptoms
Mm-hmm.
that present themselves that look similar to the flu. So you may have a bacterial infection,
Mm-hmm.
or you may have a viral infection. On the flu side, it's a virus.
Okay.
So that's where we have to make the distinction because, for example, if you have, let's say, runny nose, cough, sneezing for 2 days, it does not mean you have the flu necessarily.
Okay.
Most people with the flu will have very high temperatures. You can also have a viral infection and have fevers as well.
Okay.
So depending on what the symptomatology or symptoms are that the patient presents with, you have to make a clear distinction as to whether or not it's actually the flu. You don't want to give Tamiflu to a patient who does not actually prove positive by testing for influenza virus.
Mm-hmm.
Because just like taking regular medications, there are side effects that come with taking medication.
Right.
So everybody getting an antibiotic just because they start having symptoms that look like the flu, it could be a sinus infection, for example.
Okay.
It could be a pharyngitis or just inflammation of your throat area. It could be a tonsillar infection. So your tonsils could be inflamed, and that's the reason why you present with these kind of symptoms. You know, and then there's some people with just seasonal allergies that may seem like they have the flu.
Okay.
You have to be very careful
Yeah.
as to giving antibiotics because the primary problem is people in general, when we take antibiotics, like I said, you're changing what's going on with the bacterial flora that naturally live in our bodies. So if you continue taking antibiotics, you can develop antibiotic resistance. So when you have a very severe infection, there are certain kinds of drugs that are targeted for those infections that no longer will have any effect when you actually take them because you've continuously taken antibiotics for what was probably most likely not the flu.
Okay. So are you one of those doctors who buy into the home remedies or you don't?
I buy into the home remedies with the exception of a high fever. So in a child, a fever that's greater than 100.5 in an infant.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, an infant, you're talking about the baby's up to 28 days old. So a newborn. Or in the case of a child that's under 5 and they start have temperatures greater than 101 or greater, that's concerning. Or, you know, an elderly patient or an adult that has temperatures over 100.5, that would be concerning as well. So if you have someone who presents with actual fevers, that person needs to have medical examination done.
Okay.
And not just try to doctor it at home because it may be something more severe like a bronchitis or a pneumonia that can kill you.
Okay. All right. We're talking to our special guest, Dr. Melanie Simpson, and she's a family doctor, and she's joining us to answer some of our little crazy questions that we do have. I want to move now to high blood pressure. Is high blood pressure hereditary? I really need to know.
That's a good question.
No, I seriously need to know because I believe that there are some people like myself who try to do all the right things and eat the right foods and exercise and keep your weight down and boom, you will still go to the doctor and your pressure is is high, even though I believe that when I go to the doctor, I'm so tense that I have what is called white coat.
White coat hypertension. Okay, so high blood pressure, otherwise known as hypertension. There are many different causes of hypertension. Hypertension can be hereditary. There are many things that are passed through our genes from families.
Okay.
But you can also develop high blood pressure from your diet. And that's a factor that creates many illnesses in society, period.
Okay.
So high salt intake, not taking in adequate hydration. So we're talking about water, not sodas, or caffeinated beverages. But you can also have it based on having a thyroid dysfunction.
Okay.
Controls your metabolism. That can also be a cause. And then you can also have kidney problems. So like kidney failure can also result in someone not being able to control their blood pressure appropriately as well. And then there are many other causes which I wouldn't really go into right now, but the biggest factor besides genetics is diet.
Okay. So is there anything that you recommend for your patients to do if they do have high blood pressure, apart from telling them to eat less salt?
Monitor your salt intake. I encourage adequate amounts of water, so at least 8 glasses of water per day. In addition, exercise. Exercise doesn't mean open the refrigerator, look what's in there to eat, and avoid certain products. It means physical exercise.
Well, you know, Dr. Melanie, everybody can't be as slim as you know.
Well, here's the thing. It's not even about being slim, because being slim is a deception. It doesn't mean being slim you're healthy either.
Okay, well.
So that's the misconception that many people have, that because you're slim or thin, that you're healthy, and that's not always the case either.
Okay, well, you have segued into something that I want to ask you about.
Sure.
Governor Christie from New Jersey, he said last week that he is the healthiest fat guy in America. Is that fact or fantasy? Because he is huge, okay?
Oh, I heard some controversy regarding that. But anyway.
Yes, there's
obesity.
Yes.
We have so many. First of all, I would say this, and it's not a disclaimer, but America is one of the most fast food, fast-growing nations, and we basically welcome obesity indirectly. And why do I say that? Everybody is too busy. Nobody has time to cook. Nobody has time to eat healthy, so we eat out. And what do we eat? MSG all day long. And so a lot of people become obese, and in the process of becoming obese, for example, childhood obesity, that is a huge problem, because you can also develop asthma, you know, and your other complications that you can develop from being obese. So obesity is not something to be very proud of.
Okay.
For lack of a better way to say it.
Wow.
But I don't believe that, you know, putting a disclaimer out there that, yes, I'm a healthy person because I'm obese. No, when you're obese, you're at risk of heart disease, if you don't already have heart disease, because you have more fat stores, and that welcomes cholesterol, which can cause plaque formation. And if you think of something being plugged up, the arteries of your system in your body can be plugged up, so you can have diabetes, you can have heart disease, you can have a stroke. I mean, there's so many things that can happen as a result of being obese. In addition, you can't breathe. Why? Because especially if you have central or belly fat, so central obesity or belly fat, your diaphragm, which helps in your breathing, you're not able to appropriately expand your lungs the way you should, so you cannot breathe well. So they often complain of being short of breath and exercise intolerance. They're not able to jog or walk the way most of us normal people that are not obese are able to.
Right.
So no, it's not healthy to be obese.
Okay, another thing is that Governor Christie got really angry when I think it was Dr. Mariano, who lives in Arizona. She came on air when he made that statement and said, you know, he should not be saying that because he's gonna probably die in office. And, you know, another doctor came out and says, well, you know, running for president is different from running for governor, and, you know, your weight will be more of an issue. And he got very upset, told her to shut up because you cannot diagnose someone from a distance. Now, my question to you is, can you as a doctor, if I call you and I give you the symptoms that I'm having, is it possible for you to make a diagnosis based on what I'm telling you on the phone? Or is that doctor just way out of line? Because he just got really mad and told her to shut up.
I did hear about that. Actually, I think I was listening to a program on the news where they had an excerpt about that whole conversation.
Right.
Or, you know, how he felt about it. But I will say this. For me personally, as a practitioner, if you are not visibly in front of me, you can tell me what your symptoms are, and I might have an idea, but it doesn't necessarily mean I'll come to the right conclusion without physical examination. Okay. And that's where dangers occur, where a patient can call a physician and say, I feel like this or this, and, you know, whatever. And when the patient actually physically gets seen by the physician, there are more probing questions that we're able to have with that patient in front of us. And on top of it, I cannot examine your lungs over the phone. Right. I cannot assume that your lungs are clear. You might actually be wheezing. For example, if you complained of wheezing and you have a history of, like, let's say asthma, and I'm thinking that, well, maybe it's an upper respiratory infection, so I'm just going to give you some antibiotics, no big deal. Well, I may give you antibiotics. I don't have your chart in front of me. I cannot remember your history appropriately.
Right.
You have an allergy to a medication that I just gave you. Now you end up in the ER because I incorrectly treated you without physically having you in front of me. So I think it's a risk in general to make assumptions by talking to someone over the phone that you can appropriately treat them. It doesn't mean you can't point them in the right direction.
Right.
For example, you can recommend to a patient, you need to go to the emergency room and actually have somebody physically evaluate you so that they can make a better judgment and be able to treat you appropriately. So that would be my recommendation. But in his case, I would say that she does have some factual basis for her statement. I cannot say he's going to die of heart disease. I don't know that. You don't know that. None of us are God, so we don't really know what the endpoint result might be.
Right.
But we do know that risk factors can lead to certain outcomes.
Okay.
That's what I would say about that.
All right. My special guest inside of the Diana Wright Show live online this evening, Dr. Melanie Simpson. And we are going to go now and shift gears into diabetes. Why is it seeming to me that there's just this major breakout of diabetes? Are we getting it from the food or something? I mean, this is just ridiculous.
Too many sweet tooth.
Too many.
Yes, everybody has a sweet tooth these days.
Oh, so is that what we're supposed to be avoiding? A lot of sweets?
Well, here's the problem. It's not the sweet that makes.
Okay, I'm hearing the sound in the background, Dr. Melanie. If you could turn that down for me, and then we're getting a feedback from that. All right. Okay, I'll give Dr. Melanie a minute to turn that down so we can get back to a very interesting conversation here. Okay, hello, Dr. Melanie?
With that being said, long-term use of steroids can also lead to diabetes.
Oh.
So diabetes doesn't just stem from genetics, but it can be idiopathic, as they would say, or it can be introduced by treatment of something else. It can actually be caused by another process.
So is it also something, diabetes can also be hereditary?
The growth of diabetes in our population now, I think, stems a lot from our diet.
Okay.
And everything, in a nutshell, kind of goes back to what we put into our body. Because, the statement goes, you are what you eat.
So what advice basically would you give to your patients about a healthy lifestyle?
Sure. Okay, so with regards to maintaining a healthy lifestyle, I would say appropriate rest is very necessary. It's recommended that you at least rest for 8 hours per night. If you are unable to do 8 hours per night, you might be a wife, you might have children, different things that take away from your sleep. At least 6 hours nightly is essential.
Okay.
And the reason is, if you are not appropriately rested, you cannot make appropriate decisions.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So resting is very necessary. Exercise. Monitoring.
Okay. Before you continue there, Dr. Melanie, you said exercise. When Dr. Melanie says to me, I need to exercise, what exactly are you saying? Should I be working out for an hour? What should I be doing?
For example, moderate exercise at least 3 times a week would be necessary. So if you go walking, even if it's 15-20 minutes for the day, that's moderate exercise. So something that allows your heart to do a little bit of work in order to allow oxygen to be pumped around your body so that your brain can function clearer. And just in general, it can help you to feel better. A lot of us are stressed out. That's the word that everybody uses now. I'm so stressed. I have all these things going on. And so when you're stressed, you increase the hormone known as cortisol in in your body. And what cortisol does is it speeds up your heart rate. It releases epinephrine and norepinephrine. So it releases all these hormones that causes your body to be in a state of fight or flight. So if you saw a bear, you wouldn't stand still, you'd run. So it's kind of like adrenaline you basically create with exercise. So exercise is very good because you also sleep better when you exercise as well. So when I say exercise, it doesn't have to be you go to the gym and lift weights and, you know, do all these high-intensity training, but just simple walking. Whether it's up and down the stairs or just walking around the block or whatever, just getting some form of exercise. Or just even jogging in place or stretching, you know, or some people like yoga. But whatever it is that you do, something that allows your body to move, because muscles you don't use, you will end up losing.
Okay. All right. Well, we got that. Okay, so sleep, exercise. What's the next one? Diet. Okay, diet. I don't know.
You're not talking about Jenny Craig and everybody else, no. Diet is simple because with the cost of food, many people can't afford to eat certain types of food. So not everybody can shop at Whole Foods and, you know, that's their diet on a regular basis.
Right.
But watching your portion sizes.
Portion sizes, okay. Portion sizes.
Meat, if you were to open your palm, and everybody's palm size is different, but you should not have more than a palm full of meat on any given serving.
So that's a palm full of meat?
Right, like your palm, like your actual palm. Not your fingers included, but just your palm itself.
Oh, your fingers are excluded?
Right.
Dr. Melanie, do you know how little that meat is right there? I mean, not even a chicken leg, so that you can only have a chicken leg or something.
Okay, so let me take it all the way back to infancy. When the baby is first born, their stomach is very tiny, smaller than like a golf ball.
Okay.
And as you know, as days go by, their stomach starts to expand. So likewise with our stomach, we put more in our stomach than our stomach actually can hold on any given meal in most cases. Because what happens is satiety, as it's known, or feeling full, our brain has a little area that says, okay, I'm full, stop, do not bring any more food here. But there's a part of us that says, oh, this tastes really good, or let me see that, or something else attracts our eye, and so we go after that, you know, piece of food, whatever it is. And so you tend to overeat. And what you do is you overeat, you're stretching the walls, the muscles of your stomach, and that's how people end up with indigestion. You know, people end up vomiting and everything else that can happen that does not feel well because they've overeaten.
Okay.
So it's very important to watch portion sizes.
What about carbohydrates? Because, you know, everything is blamed on fat and carbs these days.
Right. Carbohydrates, when they are you could say starch, so yams, rice, pasta, potatoes, things like that.
Right.
When they're converted, they turn into sugar. And so they go into your liver and they're stored in your liver until you are hungry. And then or you need energy, and then they're converted to a form, glucose, so that your brain can be fed.
Right.
So the smallest area of your body is your brain. So the brain doesn't care about any place else. It governs everywhere, but it doesn't really care about any place else that needs to be fed.
Right.
So if your body does not have appropriate food, which is glucose, then it's going to go for another form. It's going to try to convert protein, so, you know, like your meat, cheese, eggs, things like that, or fat, into a form that the body can use. If you cannot find any of those, then ketone bodies, which are the worst things that your brain can actually have happen, they become the foods that tries to feed your brain, and that's how people end up in diabetic coma.
Okay. All right. So we have our special guest, Dr. Melanie Simpson, and she's a family doctor, and she's telling us some of the things we need to do to live a healthy lifestyle. Sleep. 8 hours or 6 minimum, right? Okay. Minimum of 6 hours of sleep. I don't know how some of the menopausal women are going to handle that. But anyway, moving right along. Okay, and we're talking about diet, and Dr. Melanie says you can only, or you're supposed to only have, don't count your fingers now, okay? Just the palm. That's the size meat you're supposed to be eating, not a big old T-bone steak.
No.
Or not an entire chicken breast, because that just fills up your whole hand, not your palm. All right.
Correct.
Okay, and exercise, very important for us, and we must drink lots and lots of water, right?
Fruits and vegetables are very important too.
Vegetables?
Fruits and vegetables.
Okay, fruits and vegetables.
Allows for the passage of stool as well as drinking water.
Okay.
So roughage is very important in the diet because that's how people end up with colon cancer and many other GI or gastrointestinal dysfunction is from a lack of roughage. So fruits and vegetables very important as well.
Okay. Well, Dr. Melanie, there's a lot of craziness today about fiber. How on earth do we, I mean, because, you know, they go, oh, you must eat whole grain, and oh, you must eat this, and you must eat oatmeal. I can't eat oatmeal every single day.
No, you will also get very heavy eating oatmeal every day.
Yes, you know.
No, but like I said, the largest portion of fiber or the biggest source of fiber that you can have is fruits and vegetables.
Fruits and vegetables, okay.
Fruits and vegetables.
So are you allowed to eat bread?
Say that one more time.
Are you allowed to eat bread if you're on keeping a healthy diet?
Whole wheat bread, whole wheat flour.
Uh-huh. So what if you're,
so careful because bread, that dextrose, that sweet taste that comes from bread, be careful of that too because some people, it's like Pringles, once you eat one you can't stop. So some people, they have a habit of eating bread in different forms.
Oh yes, I'm like that. I don't eat bread at home necessarily, but when I go to a restaurant, if that bread is good, I'm diving in. I mean, you know, and you have to go say, oh, can't eat anymore because if I eat more, I can't eat my meal kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm guilty of that. Definitely guilty of that. So fruits and vegetables, exercise, lots of water, exercise, only your palm size of meat, and that's your protein, lots of sleep, and of course.
And another big thing is go and get yourself checked out. Everybody figures because nothing is wrong with me, I don't need to go to the doctor. But we can talk to you on the external, but we cannot see internally what's going on with you. So when your body starts to give you signals, so you might feel aches and pains, you know, joint pain, bone pain, whatever, you know, you're feeling, or abdominal pain, stomach pains, as they would say, or changes in your bowel habits. So before your stools were nice and, you know, well formed, and now all of a sudden they're kind of loose, or they're coming out pencil thin, or you might see blood in your stool, or change in the color of your stool, so instead of being brown, now it looks gray, or whatever the case might be, or your urine, instead of having a nice clear color to it, is extremely yellow like a crayon, you know, or it has an odor to it, or whatever the case might be. So sometimes we ignore these signs and we say, oh, well, I'm just dehydrated in the case of urine, let me just drink some more water, but you might have an infection, you never know. So it's always good to get yourself checked out too. At least once a year you should get a physical.
Okay, so you're recommending basically a physical once a year then?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to just talk a little bit about people who it seems like their body doesn't absorb calcium. So when they have blood work done, their calcium might be high. What exactly does that mean?
Okay, so for a patient who has elevated calcium levels, there could be many different causes. It could be an excess of vitamin D. Everybody's going crazy over vitamin D now, and vitamin D has a lot of benefits in the body, but it could be an excess of vitamin D intake. So the sun is a great source of vitamin D, but not everybody can be in the sun because of the risk of skin cancer. So an excess of vitamin D could be a part of the problem. There's some people that have ulcerative diseases. So there's something called Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, where some people, because of that particular disease, have elevated calcium levels. Somebody could have a malignant
What was that? Repeat that for me, Dr. Melanie.
Say that one more time.
Repeat that one you said.
Bollinger.
Yes.
Ellison syndrome. So that would be almost similar to having peptic ulcer disease.
Oh.
It's similar. Not exactly the same, but it would be a little too much to go into at the moment.
All right.
But that could be a reason why somebody's calcium levels are elevated. In addition, somebody could have, like I said, actual cancer, and that's the reason why they have elevated calcium levels. They could actually have kidney failure.
Oh, kidney failure too. Wow.
Yes.
Oh, so if your kidney's affected, that means you're
Right.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
calcium and phosphorus are what make up bone.
So your advice to people who are like that, then they probably should stay away from calcium-rich foods, or
Anyone who has extremely high calcium levels should be very careful because elevated calcium levels can actually lead to psychosis. They start hallucinating and
Wow. Very serious things we're talking about tonight. Our special guest, Dr. Melanie Simpson. Oh my goodness. And she's from a rare breed of family doctor. A family doctor you can actually go to for everything. Well, Dr. Melanie, I am just, I'm not going to grill you any longer for this evening. And but before you go though, I want to ask you one more question. Are black people more susceptible to having high blood pressure and diabetes?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
What about Spanish people? Because I know it seems like the Spanish population has a lot of diabetes, especially in the children because of their diet. I think they eat a lot of tacos or, flour-based stuff.
Your exact question. Diet is one of the biggest factors. I mean, obviously, like I said before, our genes preclude or put us at risk of, actually having certain diseases. But diet is a huge problem that we tend to not take seriously in many cases. And there are many, many diseases that can be avoided simply based on what you put in your mouth.
Okay.
Not everything that looks good is good for you.
Okay. Are there, before you go, Dr. Melanie, is there any food item that you just simply say, don't bother to eat that?
Any food item that I would...
Yeah, that you would say to me or anyone that's listening or watching us, just don't bother because, that particular food item doesn't provide you anything and it's more harm than good. Is there any one food item?
Pork.
What did you say? Pork?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
High fat content, high salt content, and just not good for you.
Okay. High fat. I'm writing this down, High fat.
High fat content, high salt content, and just not good for you.
High salt also?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. My goodness. So all that jerk pork that you're eating out there, if you're Jamaicans.
Exactly. If you ever really want to see how high of a fat content it has and the risk of high cholesterol, take a piece of the skin of the pork, like when you're going to fry it, and just put it in the pan.
Oh, and you'll see it just go popping, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, for all you bacon lovers, do you know they actually have a show called Bacon Something Asort, whatever, on the Food Network or one of those places?
Okay.
Yes, they actually have a show called Bacon Lovers or something of that nature.
Yeah, but there's turkey bacon, so you do have options.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Melanie. We hope that you will become our resident family physician on this show because you have, we are able to ask you a variety of questions and you don't tell us, oh, well, that's not my specialty, So thank you so much for joining us on the Diana Wright Show. And we hope you have a great evening and a blessed one.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. Okay, that was our special guest for the evening on the Diana Wright Show live online, Dr. Melanie Simpson. And oh, what a lot of information. All you bacon lovers out there, I know you're crying right now in your soup, okay, because you just discovered that pork is one of the devils that you're not supposed to be eating because it has high fat content, high salt content, and of course, if you have high cholesterol, you definitely should not eat any pork. And that is actually a point that I want to think about, because if there's a Dukan diet, and one of the things that you're not allowed to eat on that Dukan diet, which I think Kate Middleton, who is now the princess, she was on that diet before she fit into that little wedding dress. And that's the reason I gather she lost so much weight. And pork is one of the things that they say you are not allowed to eat. So Dr. Melanie has a point. So get some good sleep, at least 6 hours, get some exercise. Watch your diet. Make sure you're eating fruits and vegetables, says Dr. Melanie. And avoid the pork if you can. Go out and walk. She doesn't mean for you to go kill yourself with some weights or something. Just take a walk and jog in place, as she mentioned, and just exercise your muscles and your body and increase your heart rate so that you can be living a better and more healthy lifestyle. Okay. Wow. Before we go, I have two little things that I'd like to just run by you before I step out of here. Lindsay Lohan inside of Celebrity Focus. And a wow moment for me is that Lindsay Lohan is planning to actually open a Mexican restaurant in Tribeca, New York. I am just hoping that they'll have no liquor selling in that restaurant, so she doesn't have any of those problems. And maybe this will keep her grounded, as opposed to being in a movie. Being a restaurateur may just help her to be grounded. Obviously, she loves Mexican food, as she says. So we're just hoping that Miss Lindsay Lohan will be on the straight and narrow path as of now, as she goes on her new venture of opening a Mexican restaurant. We wish her well with that. And how could we leave and not talk a little bit about the politics? Mr. Boehner, our speaker, the crying speaker, Mr. Boehner, is saying something that I think he's just a little bit crazy about. He's now saying that President Obama lacks guts because he refuses to cut spending. I wonder what Mr. Boehner is talking about. Does he really believe that President Obama should cut spending? Is he planning to cut all the loopholes and the subsidies for the wealthy people of America? Mr. Boehner, Speaker Boehner, our crying Speaker Boehner, we plead with you to stop saying these things. Cooperate with the president. Stop giving us a show on television to make your base and the crazy Tea Party people happy. It's not necessary. Just go behind the scenes, do your job, and stop trying to ruin the economy. Okay, Mr. Boehner? And when you talk of spending cuts, we know what you're referring to. You're referring to the things that affect little people, like Medicaid and Medicare for the elderly, that they actually put in their money to. And Social Security, we know that's what you're talking about. Your code word is cutting spending. But we know what your code words really are. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid is what you really want to cut. So come out and say it. Be brave, be bold, have some guts, like you're trying to say the president has no guts. You need to get some guts and be honest with the American people. And when you make deals with the president and you cannot get your caucus, who are filled with crazy Tea Party people, then you need to come out and say it. Don't hide behind anyone else. Just let us know that you cannot control the crazies in your party. And as you all push Marco Rubio out front, of course, because he has a right last name, and he's quote unquote from Cuba, and he's quote unquote his parents who were running away from Castro, which we found out was not so. They were just coming here like everyone else for a better life. in this great United States. Good luck with that, Mr. Boehner. And as Mr. Rubio, does the rebuttal to President Obama's State of the Union address this evening, we'll just hope he comes across. And stop comparing him to Barack Obama. He's no orator. He does not make great speeches. Everyone is trying to compare him to Barack Obama. Oh, he's going to be the Latin Barack Obama. No, he's not. We'll judge tonight and see how great he is after Obama speaks at the State of the Union. On that note, I say thank you so much for joining me. And I will just say thanks so much to Dr. Melanie Simpson, a family practitioner. I did not know there were any of those left in the world. So she is actually a family practitioner, and she can talk to you about all your issues. Not just some, not just her specialty, but she's able to speak to you like the old days when you had a general practitioner, a GP that you could go to, and that doctor would take care of all your issues, as opposed to you running from specialist to specialist to specialist. America has become the place of specialists. They send you to one for your foot, one for your arms, one for your neck, one for your, just break it down. And praise the Lord. We thank you, Dr. Melanie, for joining us this evening. And thank you for joining the show. Have a great evening. And of course, we will join you tomorrow evening at 8, because tomorrow morning at 10:30, we're not going to be able to run the show because we have to work out some quirks here. All right. So we thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening and a blessed one, and stay prayed up. Don't forget that come April 30th, it's declared National I Love Me Day on the Diana Wright Show. The number to call if you'd like to be a partner, be an advertiser, or a sponsor of the show, 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. Join the conversation. Check us out on Facebook. Give us the thumbs up on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. Tweet me, call me, email me, DianaWrightTV@gmail.com. And we hope to see you back here tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock. Have a great evening, as I said before, and thanks again for joining us. Ciao.